Okay, so this is briefly what I want to talk about. Before I get started, I'll introduce myself. My name is Anna. I work in our Office of Sustainability here. I do our outreach and communications. So that includes everything from programs for students, including our Eco Reps and Eco Pledge programs, which we'll talk more about down the road, as well as our social media, newsletter, community-wide messages, tours, events, lectures sometimes, presentations. So it's a lot. Basically, I just talk about sustainability all day. Today, I'm going to do a quick intro to sustainability at AU in case you're not that familiar with it. And then we'll get into greening your teaching style here at AU, what that looks like, how you can include students in campus sustainability efforts. And then I'll talk about the resources that my office has to offer for all of those different things. So first, quick intro to sustainability. Our history, we kicked off our journey in 2008. Sometimes we date it even earlier, back to 2004 when we became a certified arboretum, since that kind of was the very first milestone along our journey. But when President Kerwin at the time signed the College and University President's Climate Commitment in 2008, that kickstarted the sustainability focus of our journey. My office was established in 2009 as a direct response to that commitment. There have been a couple of important milestones along the way, but I'll call out releasing our first sustainability plan in 2014 and then achieving carbon neutrality in 2018. So our whole campus is carbon neutral and has been since 2018. It was 2 years ahead of schedule and it was a really big deal at the time, and it still is a big deal. But in our messaging now, we're working to emphasize that it is a step along our way and definitely not an endpoint to our journey. Since 2018, we've also fully divested our endowment from any investments in fossil fuels as of 2020, which is great, and released a newer version of our sustainability plan in 2021, and we'll look at that in just a second. Most recently, we received the #2 ranking in the Princeton Review's list of green schools, which we're very excited about. To be honest with you, I have no idea what they look like or what they look at in order to rank schools, but we're pretty excited about that ranking. So this is our current sustainability plan. We have 3 main buckets. Environment is all the things that are traditionally associated with sustainability. So our buildings, our grounds, waste, water, energy, dining, all of those sorts of things. Engagement is how we interact with our campus community and our off-campus community. So scholarship and teaching, wellness, environmental justice was a newer addition to our sustainability plan, as well as campus and community engagement. And then administration is just how we approach sustainability here at AU. So that includes ensuring that we stay carbon neutral, and governance, which includes things like our Sustainability Advisory Council and divestment. STARS is how we track our sustainability achievements, and we most recently released a STARS report in 2024. STARS stands for the Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System. It is a framework for higher ed sustainability reporting, and it's used across the whole globe for lots and lots of different universities. It looks at a pretty comprehensive sample of everything that we do on campus when it comes to sustainability. So that includes academics, like our curriculum and our research. It also includes how we're engaging our campus community, how students and employees are participating in our sustainability progress, as well as things like cross-campus partnerships. I wanted to mention DC Cheers here in case any of our faculty are interested in participating in that. It is a cross-campus partnership, including lots of DMV area schools and faculty from those schools who want to talk about where our work overlaps. I believe that they're thinking about designing some kind of environmental focused course that would include faculty from different schools, but that hasn't quite gotten up off the ground yet. I go to those meetings because we don't have a faculty representative from AU right now, but if someone was interested in becoming a faculty representative, just let me know and I can include you on the list there. Okay. STARS also looks at our operations. So again, that's things like our buildings and our grounds, energy, waste, water, dining, transportation, all of those things. And then the final bucket is planning and administration. So that includes our governance, our investments, and our representation and access. I wanted to note representation and access because one of the things that people don't consider to be sustainability all the time is things like wellness at work, gender parity, like all of these different things that fall under the sort of DEI bucket, but that is really connected to sustainability and it's assessed through stars. So these are our priorities for the school year coming up. This is where we're putting a lot of our focus. It's probably not news that we're existing in a difficult political climate. And so this year we're taking our sustainability work back to the basics and we're thinking about efficiency, saving money, and how we can make our campus operate a little bit better and save some of these resources. So energy is one example of that, thinking about our campus renewables. We're especially focused on renewables this year because the Meltzer Center, which is our newest building on campus, will open later this year, right toward the end of 2024, 2025. And that building is our first geothermal on campus. So we're very excited about that building. It is also our first net zero energy building, and so we'll do a push out to the campus community around what we're talking about when we talk about net zero energy, and how our geothermal is working. We're also focused on waste. We always want to be reducing the amount of waste that we send to landfill, and we're doing that both by increasing the amount that we are composting and recycling on campus and by reducing the overall amount of waste that's being produced. We're also thinking about reducing single-use plastics, increasing the amount of compostables on compostable plastics on campus, and making sure that things are getting sorted out as much as possible. If you got that from the bridge.
It's compostable.
Yeah.
I just checked.
Yeah, the bridge, it just introduced compostables this year. The DAV has been doing compostables for a while, but the bridge is like working on a switch over.
And where are the compost bins? Are they all over?
There's a set right by the.
Looks like two bins. Oh, wow.
Yeah, like right by the base of the stairs there, yeah. And I'll talk about what goes into each bin in a second. I have a whole slide dedicated to base. That's one of our #1 questions. So I was like, oh, I'll take a second, I'll go over it. We also want to talk about reducing our water use on campus. Part of that is managing the amount of stormwater that is going to run off of campus. So those sort of things, those things go together. And then the last thing is resource sharing across campus. This will save us money and reduce waste, which is kind of the dream. We just introduced, we're piloting an office supply swap portal where if you have things that you're not using anymore, you can upload them. And then similarly, if you are, new to campus and you need stuff for your office, you can check it. Yeah, exactly. You can check it out and see what other people are offering.
Live, yeah.
We've had 3 offices add stuff, so I can send you the link if you want, and then you can access it.
Yeah.
You might also be interested in our surplus furniture portal if you're looking for furniture for your office here. That is run through the Zero Waste Office, and that is not a pilot, so it's available fully online. You can just Google surplus furniture portal American University, and we store all of the furniture that people don't need anymore, and then we redistribute it to people who do need it, and it operates similar to the office supply swap. We're also thinking about things like clothing swaps, and I'll mention that coming up next Friday and Monday, we're running Project Move In, which is the second part of Project Move Out. In the spring, we collect everything students don't want as they move out of the residence halls, and then we donate it back across campus for free in the fall. So that is coming up next Friday and Monday, and we have 18 tons of stuff that we're getting rid of. So it's targeted at students, but again, if you need stuff, I will say most of it comes from a residence hall. So keep that in mind as you're considering whether or not you want it.
Clothes that I can donate.
Yeah, I don't know if we're accepting donations necessarily. It's more about redistributing, but if you have clothes that you don't want anymore,
Yeah, I have clothes that I don't want. Like
we have a
perfectly good condition. I just don't want them anymore.
We have a campus, like student-run thrift store.
Oh,
that is open, when students are here, and like they have open hours. You can check them out on Instagram, I believe. They're called Wonk Trade, and they would definitely take those clothes for you.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm literally sitting in a pile in the corner of my bedroom.
Well, get rid of them.
Okay. I'm checking out this furniture swap right now.
Great. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about greening your teaching style at AU. One of the best ways to do that is through AU's Green Teaching program. When you apply to become a green teacher, the application walks you through a lot of different things that you can do to reduce the environmental impact of your course, no matter what you're teaching. Some of those things include reducing paper use, so you can think about printing your syllabi and your assignments, offering digital versions of readings, and lots of other things. Another main bucket under the green teaching program is reducing the energy and emissions associated with your course. So choosing your course equipment carefully, scheduling your office hours to reduce the amount of commuting that students have to do to and from campus, all of these different things. And then there's sort of an other section, which includes things like incorporating sustainability into your subject matter, which you probably don't need to be told. Taking your course on a sustainability tour of campus or an arboretum tour, and then encouraging the use of reusable water bottles and utensils. And this is just sort of a sampling of some of the things that are recommended in the green teaching program, but I would absolutely recommend checking it out either because you might already be doing a lot of it or it would have some new ideas. I'll also mention that we have some other programs on campus that are dedicated to reducing the impact of what you do, even if what you do is not associated with sustainability. One example is our Green Home Office program. All of this is available on our website too. Our Green Home Office program, so you can think through the environmental impact of your home office when you're off campus, save energy, reduce waste, and then improve like the wellness of your space at home. And there's a lot of different ideas associated with that on our website. We also have a green office program dedicated to greening your office here on campus. You can bring your department on board to think through how you're operating your department. Are you in the environmental science department?
I am.
Great, then you're already certified. So this isn't for you. But we've actually also certified all of COGOD as a green office too, which was great. And so we're gonna see if we can maybe roll that into certifying some of our other schools and colleges across campus. The last thing that I want to note about greening your teaching style is that we actually offer slides and we send them out to faculty at the start of the school year focused on getting students involved with sustainability. The first one is how to sort waste, and I'll talk briefly about what goes into each of the bins while we're on this slide. I hear sometimes from faculty and staff that students are the ones who really need to be sorting their waste, and that's true. But we also make up a big portion of the people who are sorting their waste here on campus. And so it's really important that faculty and staff are also sorting their waste correctly. So when we think about compost here at AU, it's going to be in the green bins. You might see an orange bin floating around sometime. Those are a sort of a relic. We used to use orange bins and now we've switched over to green, but you can still compost in orange bins here too. Things that go into compost, I think of it as anything that a worm would want to eat. I don't know if that's a helpful way to remember it, but I think it's funny. So that's how I think of it. That's going to be all organic waste, all food waste. So even things like meat, dairy, bones, you can compost those here on campus because we compost at an industrial facility. You can also compost wooden stir sticks, paper towels and napkins, pizza boxes, oil stained paper bags, paper tea bags, and then anything that's labeled compostable. The trick is that it has to be labeled compostable. Terms like made from plant-based materials or bio-based are not the same thing as compostable. Compostable is a certification. So if it's certified compostable, it's good to go. Otherwise, it's just been marketed and it can be composted on our campus. Mixed recycling is always going to be in blue, and these are things that could be like the material could be used again. So metal and aluminum cans are great recycling. Glass, plastics labeled 1 through 7 in the little triangle. As long as it's got a number, it can pretty much be recycled on our campus. And then coffee cups, sleeves, and lids, that whole thing can just go right into the recycling as long as it's empty. And then paper and cardboard. The trick with our recycling is that because it is single stream, meaning that plastic and glass and cans, things that had food and liquid in them, go in the same bin as all of our paper and cardboard. It's really important to make sure that things are as clean and dry as possible. They don't need to be like washed out with soap and dried. It's not quite that sensitive, but dropping like a half empty can of Coke in there will contaminate the recycling. Dropping a half-eaten salad in there will contaminate the recycling. So it's important to get everything out of there. And then if you can, give it like a quick wipe with a paper towel or something like that before dropping it into our recycling. Our recycling is currently our most contaminated stream on campus, which is the opposite of what we usually expect. Usually we expect to see compost be more contaminated, but because of the amount of food and liquid we're seeing in our recycling, it's our most contaminated stream right now. Landfill is going to be things that can't be composted or recycled. And ideally, we're driving down the amount of stuff that has to go to landfill on our campus. But right now, chip bags, candy wrappers, granola bar wrappers, any of those thin, crinkly plastic stuff that has to go to trash or landfill. Straws and utensils that are not compostable have to go to landfill. They can't be recycled. Condiment packages are landfill. K-cups, again, any sort of those thin plastics, they're too small to be recycled, and so they have to go to landfill. And then disposable face masks and PPE are also landfill. This is the other side that we'll include for faculty to show students at the start of the semester. And this is just sort of a call to action for students, very, very brief. We are asking them to think about becoming a volunteer with our office. It's about 2 hours per week to promote sustainability on campus. And this year we are actually offering an internship credit for students who participate in the program if they're interested in that. So that's new. We also ask that they sign the Eco Pledge. They work through a checklist that honestly looks very similar to the Green Office checklist and the Green Teaching checklist, but focused on students and behavior change. And they get a free set of reusable utensils when they complete the Eco Pledge. And then the last thing is if you use a reusable mug or cup at the bridge during the first week of classes, you can get $1 off a house-made drink, which is cool. Usually the discount is 25 cents, I believe, but it's up to $1 for the first week of classes. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about including students in campus sustainability efforts. First, sort of a why it matters slide. You might already be very familiar with this, but AU has a real focus this year, both on recruitment and retention. And I think that sustainability, it might not be a deciding factor in like why they choose to come to AU, and it might not be the main reason whether or not they choose to like leave or stay. But it is something that they care about, and it's something that they notice. The biggest thing that we hear from students is that they came to AU because they thought it was so sustainable, and they get here and then they don't see it. And so we need everybody on campus to be incorporating sustainability as much as possible to help them start to see it when they get here. It's something that students, particularly in this generation, care a lot about. And when they get here and they don't see it, we hear frequently that they feel like disappointed or disillusioned. Sustainability is also a really great way to build community. We talk about it a lot with our students, but it's something that pretty much everyone in the generation, like this current generation, especially that come to AU and to DC, it's something that they all care a lot about. And so it can be a really valuable tool to build community. Okay, in the classroom, we have a couple of thoughts on how you can incorporate sustainability. The first would be to use our resources, and I'll talk a little bit more about these in a second, but we have a lot of data on sustainability efforts across campus. Some of that is publicly available on our website, or you can request it. A lot of it is also publicly available through STARS. We also offer sustainability tours to classes, and then we also offer lectures. So sometimes they're sort of a general introduction to sustainability, and then sometimes they're really, really focused. The director of sustainability did a couple on dining and sustainability here at AU, and then I did a couple on energy and a couple on waste last year. So they can be really focused depending on what the class is centered on. We also partner with classes semi-regularly. A couple of examples would be the COGOD capstone, not this last year, but the year before, worked with us to host us as judges of their capstone competition. So all of the students graduating from COGOD participated in a competition where they developed some kind of intervention or new idea, and then asked us to both mentor some of the students working through the capstone and then sit in as judges. We are also working with an environmental science capstone this year. I believe they're helping with our greenhouse gas inventory process, collecting some of the data and then doing some analysis on it for their capstone. We also do interviews very regularly with students for class. And so that can be anything from focused on energy or waste or water to thinking about communication. We do a lot of different stuff in our office, and we're happy to talk about any of it. The last thing I'll note here is that we know a lot of different like groups across the city, and we're happy to facilitate connections if that would be helpful for you or your students. And if we don't know somebody, then maybe the Center for Leadership, Community, and Engagement does, or we might know somebody else on campus. So just if we can help, talk to us. Outside the classroom, we have a lot on our campus to help students get involved with sustainability. Our big thing is the Eco Rep program. Students spend about 2 hours a week volunteering to promote sustainability across campus. Not all of our students want to listen to me talk about sustainability, so having student ambassadors is a really, really helpful tool for us. They attend major campus events to help attendees sort their waste. They create social media content. They plan events with their RAs for their floors. And then sometimes we say, talk to your professor about this thing that's coming out so that they can tell the rest of their classes. And then they earn either volunteer hours or internship credit for their work with us. Eco Pledge, like I said earlier, is sort of a checklist for students to think through their different behaviors and the impact that they have on the environment, and then commit to living a little bit more sustainably. We also employ students in the Office of Sustainability and in the Zero Waste Office. And I believe that if we have postings, those will probably be going live sometime in the next couple of weeks. And then there's a lot of other opportunities for students to get involved, both with other students on our campus. Students are responsible for our community garden, for our beehives, for our student-run thrift store. They do a lot of different stuff here on campus. And then our Center for Leadership and Community Engagement is also a good way to get connected to off-campus opportunities. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about sustainability resources that we have available here. First would be memberships. AU is a member both of the U.S. Green Building Council and of the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. And both of those groups have a ton of resources available to faculty. We have information on our website. If you don't already have a profile with them, like you can create one through AU and access all of those things for free. So we would absolutely recommend checking those out. Huge, huge variety of resources on everything from like curriculum to communication to building to data, like pretty much whatever you want. When it comes to curriculum, we also offer like AU specific stuff on our website. We have a couple of workshops available as well as a lesson plan. So if a faculty member can't make a class or whatever, we have a fully like independent lesson plan that students can do on their own to learn about sustainability at AU. And then we also have some information on like campus as a living laboratory. So taking a tour with us, receiving a lecture from us, taking a tour with the Arboretum or the Zero Waste Office, all of that is available for students. And then the last thing I'll mention is data. We have a metrics dashboard available on our website with the whole goal was to have some of our data be more accessible, even though it's all publicly available. Sometimes it's not very accessible. So the metrics dashboard is designed to, at a glance, provide you with information on how we're doing when it comes to energy, waste, water, commuting, maybe. And then I think there's one more too. And then the last thing I'll note is stars. Like I was talking about earlier, all of the data that we report to stars is publicly available in our stars report. Things like academics, engagement, all of our operations information, as well as some of that like planning and administration stuff. That's all publicly available. Okay, that is most of what I have. I wanted to keep it brief so we had some time for conversation at the end here too. But yeah, if you want to chat, if you have other questions, like whatever you need.
I have 3 things that have been on my mind.
Great.
One is, how are you guys approaching AI? And I say that from 2 perspectives. One is that using AI is like, it uses a lot of environmental resources. And like, how are you teaching students about the environmental implications of AI use? But then on the flip side, if we don't want students using AI, like one major solution to that is hard copies of paper, but that's also can be wasteful. So I'm wondering what your approach is.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's one that AU is thinking about. My boss and I both attended a working group session to develop like guidelines for the responsible use of AI here at AU. Those I think are publicly available now on the website, not our website, but like AU's website. And I will say that there's not an overwhelming amount of information contained in them on the like ethical and social and environmental impacts of AI. I think that that was one of the things that we were pushing to have included, is that like when you're going to use AI, one of the first things you need to think about is like, is the tool that I'm using worth the impact that it's having, and what is the
Yeah.
impact that it's having, and how do I know what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then, another question I had is, do you guys have sample language for syllabi to introduce students to sustainability and resources, and how do we like, basically like in my class, like how do we kind of practice what we preach in our lives on campus? And I would love to, like, I was just thinking while listening to you, like, I'd love to have a little paragraph in my syllabus about that, but is there language that we use on
Like
campus?
pre-drafted. That's a really good call. I know that certifying as a green teacher comes with something that you put in your syllabus, to let students know that you are a green teacher and let them know some of the things that you're doing to green your course. But if you check that out and you want additional information, let me know. And then if we develop something, I can also send it over to Anna, who and like is the administrator for the green teaching
Yeah.
program.
What is involved in being a green teacher?
Yeah, it is a whole, if you Google like American University Green Teaching Program, it pops right up. And it functions like a checklist. So you, when you click apply, a checklist pops up and you work your way through and sort of check off all the things that you're doing. And then you hit like sort of a point total at the bottom, and it lets you know whether you're certified as a green teacher and what your point score
Okay,
is.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's something that I knew that we offered, but I was doing a little more research on it to be able to talk about it for today.
Yeah.
And some of it is really, really basic in a good way, right? Like if you're not already thinking about these things, here's sort of the 101. And then some of it was really, really like innovative things, like thinking about scheduling your office hours to reduce the emissions associated with commuting to and from campus for your students.
Yeah.
So it does a really good job of
So you
going from.
apply to be a green teacher, is that how it works?
Mhm. Yep.